Good morning, guys. Today I wanted to make a little short video and just kind of go over something that I see a lot of people asking on the Facebook garden sites that I'm a part of, and it has to do with squash and why the squash are not producing and why the squash looks good when they're little like this, but then they kind of they just shrivel up and end up not producing a full-size squash you can eat. And what you end up having, or what ends up happening, is the squash not getting fertilized. So with the squash, you have your female flowers and your male flowers, and they're pretty easy to tell apart. Your female flowers are going to be the one that has the squash attached to the end of it. Right here's your flower up here, and here's your little squash right here. So that's a female flower. And over here on this one, let me dig in here where you guys can see it. Might take me a second. Find a good way to get in here. There's your male flower, and that male flower is easier to tell apart because it does not have a squash on the bottom of it. It's just a flower. And you can see, if you guys remember from science class, with these male and female flowers, you got a stamen and a pistil. And it's pretty easy to fertilize these things yourself. But you've got to do it when the female squash flower is open. See, these have already shut. These down here, and it's the flower part on the bottom of this one here has rotted. So it's done. So it's either fertilized or it's not. And here's a good example of one. I'm not sure what's going on with this flower and this squash here. But this is the female part. These little orange things in here, I'm pointing out my finger, that's what you've got to put the pollen on from the male flower to fertilize the squash plant. So what I do is I sacrifice one of these male flowers, and I just pull this thing out, go ahead and break it off. You see that pistil down in there? Let me get it in focus. That's all the pollen in there in the center on that little thing poking out there in the center. To make this easier, I go ahead and tear all the petals off of this flower, and I'm self-filming this, so I'm going to set the phone down just for a second while I tear the petals off here. So as you see, what I got here is just the part of that flower that has the pollen on it. So what you do, you take this over here to your female flowers, and you just kind of touch it in there on those, just a little bit of pollen in there. Get this one over so you can see down in there, and you just touch the male flower to the female flower. You rub a little bit of pollen on there, and you can take this same male flower and you can put it on all the females that you have. And I've only got 2 this morning. You can see here, I've got some of these here, these smaller ones, that'll be ready here in a few days. But that's all there is to it. I've got these raised beds. You can see they're about 30 inches tall, and it has to do with your bees. So if you don't have any bees or anything helping crawl, take the pollen from the male plant to the female plant, from the male flower to the female flower, that's what's going to keep your squash from being fertilized, and that's what's keeping you from getting full-size squash to eat. So I see this a lot earlier in the summer. We had a kind of a late year. It's June 19th. I'm usually getting squash by the 1st of June, but It was cold this year, so we had to wait a little bit later to plant. But anyways, you can do it yourself. The only thing you got to remember is you got to get up pretty early to do it, because these flowers, they'll shut and close up as the sun comes up. You can also do it at night, but I'm not a night owl, so I like to do it in the morning. But yeah, it's that simple, and it can be done. Like I said, you just got to get up early and do it. I'll touch base with you guys on this here in a couple weeks, or it won't be that long. It'll be, you can have squash this size that I got here, and they'll be ready here in a few days if they're fertilized. So I'm not sure, like I said, if these here with the shut up flowers got fertilized or not. They should be filling out down here on the end more than they are, so I'm not sure what we got going on with there. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll do a garden tour later today and show you the rest of my garden. But I do these raised beds, and I got the idea from Homestead Economics on how to build these, so I'll give a shout out to that guy. And I just want to show you guys the view that I have up here on the hill that I live on while I'm at it, because it's pretty this morning. Look at that shot. Come over here just a little further so you guys can see why we built our house up here on this hill we live on, here in the Ozarks of north central Arkansas. Look at that. All right, guys, I'm gonna shut it off for now, but I hope that helps you guys with your squash plants, and if you're curious on why they're rotting and not making, that's typically the cause. Appreciate you watching.